Hey, this is Jamie at Stonemaier Games, and I am joined today by a special guest. We're doing a top 10 list, but not my top 10. We're doing Susannah's top 10 list. And Susannah, why don't you let everyone know who you are so they know why you are in this video?
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, my name's Susannah Eisenbrown. I am the Retailer Relationship Manager here at Stonemaier Games. So I work with all the retailers in the US and Canada, making sure they can get copies of our games, troubleshooting when there are any issues, connecting with them, communicating every day as needed, and just getting to know all the US retailers that work with us.
I'm really excited to have Susannah today because I love to play games with Susannah. I love her taste in games. And even though we've done videos like this for Joe and Alex and Alan and other people involved with the company, that was kind of in the height of COVID. So it was just me talking to the camera, talking about their lists. So I was really excited to have Susannah join the company and be able to share her list in person with you face to face.
Thanks.
So why don't we start with your honorable mentions? You have a few games that we're not going to go into too much detail with, but a few favorites of Susannah's that didn't quite make the top 10.
Right. I love a lot of games. It was hard to pare the list down. So my honorable mentions are Cascadia, The Quest for El Dorado, Ginkgopolis, Clover, The Castles of Burgundy, The Guild of Merchant Explorers, Viticulture, Animal Kingdoms, and Cat Lady.
I love that list. I was just at a family reunion last week, and we played Clover. It went over really well.
Yes.
With the younger folks. The older folks, they couldn't, the pairing of the words, that they couldn't quite grok it. But the kind of the 20s, 30s, 40s people, they loved it.
My in-laws are really good at this game.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah. My favorite was when I was playing with my daughter and my father-in-law, and my daughter had hug and apron as two of the clue words, and she put grandma, and it just warmed my heart, and everybody got it. We all knew hug apron was grandma.
That is really clever.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would say the game on your list that I most want to play that I haven't is the Guild of Merchant Explorers. So we'll have to play that game at some
Yeah,
point.
it's excellent. It's brand new, but I played it a bunch with my daughter. We love it. I highly recommend it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into the top 10. Mostly Susannah's going to share her thoughts today. I've played 9 out of these 10 games, so I might chime in briefly with some of my thoughts. But the first one, the 10th one, is the only one on the list that I haven't played. Susannah, tell me why you love the Siege of Runedar.
Yeah, so I learned this game at Geekway to the West a few months ago. Alex Schmidt, our director of sales and logistics, taught that to a group of us. We were in the games room, and he said, so do we want cooperative or competitive? And I was like, oh, cooperative's an option. I don't think of cooperative games as an option. It's just not my taste usually. And so we got it out. He taught us it's a tower defense cooperative game with deck building and resource management. So it's Euro-y type things that I understand, and dice chucking and killing orcs that I've never played before, all mashed together in this Reiner Knizia sort of brilliant, efficient way. And I've never played a game before where you have these stand up and cheer moments when everyone is hoping that you roll the number of arrows that you need on the dice to take down the siege tower before it goes off, and then you lose one of your resource cards. So it's just this you're all invested in being dwarves, protecting your gold, killing orcs, digging out rubble, and it feels like the Helm's Deep scene in The Lord of the Rings. So it was immersive and exciting, and I played it 3 times that weekend, and then I bought it and have taught my kids, and we love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love here. I think I shared a part of this story back when I talked about my favorite games at Geekway, because you talked about how you love to play playing a game 3 times at a Geekway.
I know.
Is a sign that someone really loves a game, because there's so many games to play at Geekway.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was hard. So we lost the first 2 times. So it was I really want to win this game, and it was worth investing in. And we just lost on easy mode. So there's even more game there as you get better at it.
I can't wait to play that one.
Yeah, I'll have
I'm
to
excited
teach you.
play that. So number 9 is one of my favorites, the Quacks of Quedlinburg. What do you love about Quacks?
Oh, what not to love. It's this bag building, push your luck game. It's so much fun for that gambling urge that people have, where you just want to go one more step, and you know it's risky because you're already at 5 cherry bombs, and you know you have the 3 in your bag, and you just think, I can avoid it, and then you don't avoid it, and it's still delightful. I love the something you've mentioned, the fact that you're not locked out if you explode. So you get what we call the bubble money or the points. And so you always have an option, even if you push too far. But it's extremely easy to teach, extremely easy to bring new gamers into. So I've definitely played this with people who wouldn't necessarily be inclined to play games, and they've loved it. We bought the Geek Up bits because digging in those bags is already so fun, so we really wanted to like make that even better. We play with the Herb Witches, which I think makes, for kids especially, it gives you just a way to mitigate some bad luck or have some options. So I just think the whole package is so family friendly and so fun, and everybody's just always having a good time.
I love the simultaneous nature of it too, because everyone's having a good time at the same time. But when you get down to kind of this, there's a number of steps in between the rounds, and so if there's only one person who knows the game really well, they can kind of walk everyone through those steps, and then you're back to the simultaneous thing that everyone gets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love Quacks.
Yeah, it's a real hit. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, loves to hoard rubies, so we call her the Ruby Queen. And she has a strategy where she will try to get 10 or 15 rubies and has often won by a point or two because those rubies turn into points at the end. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a new way to win Quacks.
I need to try that one.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about number 8. This is a game that actually Susannah taught me at game night, Floriferous. What do you love about Floriferous?
So it's extremely beautiful. It's a set collection game based in a garden, and you're all walking on this sort of action selection track one way, and you all move one step each turn in the garden. And what I love is the very interesting choice between, am I taking a flower card or am I taking a scoring card? Because if you have like a white poppy, in a 3-player game you have 3, or 2-player game you have 3 cards. 2 of them are flowers or statues, and 1 of them is a scoring card in a column. So you could take a white poppy or a yellow tulip or a scoring card that gives you points for tulips or poppies or yellow cards. So it's very tense. For a beautiful set collection game that's light, you have really good choices every single turn. And you have 15 turns a game. So it's quick, it's beautiful, you have this tableau of gorgeous flowers in front of you. The art by Clementine Camperdew is spectacular. So this is in the pencil first nature games line. They're all fantastic, but this is, to me, the standout just as a flower gardener myself. So it really appeals to my sensibilities.
I wanted to ask you about that. So Susannah has a background in gardening as a profession, and this is the only flower-themed game on the list. So I was wondering what made this one inch a little bit above the other flower-themed games, if at all attached to your experience with that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's something that I can bring people in who aren't necessarily gamers. I'm a fairly new gamer, so I have lots of friends who don't know much about games, so it's really fun to have gardening friends who then I can show this absolutely beautiful game to that they can get really quickly. And in fact, I taught it to my friend Jane, and at the end of the first game she said, let's go again, and then she said, let's do 2 out of 3, and she won. And it was just awesome. So it marries my nature and my gaming lives really well.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Number 7 is one of my recent favorites, Ark Nova.
Right.
What do you love about Ark Nova?
I love about Ark Nova, actually, the first experience I had learning it, which made it possible for me to teach it and play it going forward. I was shepherded, which is a concept that you've exhibited to me and a number of other people. This is when someone teaches you a game and their interest is not in crushing you, or their interest is in you understanding the game. So my friend David taught this game to me over Discord, voice, and an online version of the game. And he was so patient with me. He taught me like I would teach one of my kids, and we kind of played it hands down. And I said, now why would I want to choose like playing the geologist versus playing this? And he said, oh yeah, that works with these, and you've got this going. And so he helped me understand why this tableau of cards and the map that I was building work together. And I didn't win the game, but I felt when I came out of it like, oh, I really understand this big, heavy game now, and I can take it and play it. So for me, the experience of a game is as important as the game itself. And now I love it, but I could have just as easily, I think, felt, had a hard relationship with it based on my first learning game of it. So the game itself is fantastic. You've probably heard a lot about it. It's long and it's heavy, but it's not too long and it's not too heavy. It's just a beautiful, excellent 2 to 3 player game experience. I've never played it 4 players. My 10-year-old loves it. The animal cards are fantastic. The strategies are varied. It just feels like a new experience every time.
I like that the heart of the story is about that first experience, because I think that can have such a big impact when you play a game. And sometimes that's within the designer and the publisher's control, how they onboard you into that experience through tutorials or the rulebook, how many icons they put in the game. But sometimes it is just about that person who decided to learn it themselves and teach it to you in a compassionate way. So I love that you share that story.
Yeah, thanks.
Number 6 is a game that I haven't played that much in recent years, but I think you have. Grand Austria Hotel. What do you love about this game?
Yeah, this is a very puzzly dice drafting Euro game that's kind of just one of those classic midweight Euros. I do have a physical copy. It's not the special Kickstarter. It was like a used copy with a broken box, but I've played it maybe 25 times on Yucata and once in person. So it's just a great online game where you have this puzzle of, am I taking guests? Am I taking food? Am I flipping my hotel rooms? How am I pleasing the emperor? You have 14 turns to do as much as possible, and it's one of those games where you can have a sad turn or a huge turn, like a 15-step turn that's all combo-y and puzzly and wonderful. So it can make you feel really smart if you've kind of mapped out things correctly, and it's incredibly satisfying even if you lose, and I just love games like that.
I like that you finished with that, because that's one of my favorite things about games, win or lose. If you can look down at the thing that you've created and have some sense of satisfaction there, I love that about games. Number 5, Fields of Arle. What do you love about Fields of Arle?
Fields of Arle is the most pastoral and peaceful of all the Uwe Rosenberg games that I've played. It's a 2-player. It's a huge sandbox. It is based in the sort of imagined ancestors of his family growing up in northern Germany on the North Sea, in this region of East Frisia. So it's this beautiful, like, immersion in a bygone way of life, where in a very specific region. So the North Sea is encroaching, and so they have to build dikes to push it back. And so that's one of the mechanisms in the game is covering negative spaces by moving these little dike pieces back. And you can then raise your sheep on the dikes, and I just kind of love seeing like one little sheep on one little dike out at the sea, and you can just picture being in this place. You're cutting peat, you're drying it, you're converting it into fuel in the winter. It's an Uwe, so you have to feed your people and give them the resources to make it through the winter. It's a seasonal game. It's just this immersion in a beautiful experience that I find extremely peaceful. So I play it solo. I play it 2-player on Yucata, and I just love it. Have you played it?
I have played it. It's been a little while. I've played it 2 players a couple times, and I played the 3-player expansion, I think, once when it came out. I remember enjoying that as well. But it is interesting to me that it is a long, heavy Euro game designed specifically for 2 players.
Yep.
You don't see that very often.
And it works really well at 2.
Yeah.
I have played it in person with my friend Merlin. She taught it to me, and I immediately went and bought it because it was just such a gentle, lovely experience. I like Agricola, but Agricola is not gentle or lovely. It's not peaceful. It's a pretty cutthroat game, and this you have so many options. Not quite as many as other of his games, but lots of options to choose from, so you don't ever feel stuck.
I love the variety in your list, Susannah, and there is only one, I think, repeat designer on this list. So Uwe will show up later on this list as well. I think that is the only repeat designer that I can see.
Yes.
Well, we'll come back to that in a few. Here's one of the games that I do have handy right now. Number 4, Obsession. What do you love about Obsession?
Oh, it's just as people say about it. It is dripping with theme. So it's this Downton Abbey, Jane Austen. Again, it's this immersion in a world in a Euro game. So it's not like an RPG game, but people do kind of role play with it a little bit, because you have this deck of cards where you're bringing guests to your estate, and you're trying to host them at events in order to increase your reputation, gain more money, improve your estate, and ultimately try to win the hand of one of the Fairchild children for one of your children. So it's a dating game, essentially. But it's one of these things where people get really into it. They'll sort of do bad English accents and just pretend to be in this world. I don't know what... It's just a fun... It's a little puzzly because you have you have these specialized meeples. They're all these different worker types. Like you have a butler, you have a lady's maid, you have a housemaid. They're all different shapes and colors. And you have to assign certain meeples to certain cards to certain events to make things happen. So it's again one of these games where you can have a really big turn. You can plan for a nice, really big turn toward the end where you really host a huge, grand dinner or a ball or whatever. And you're in this place, in this world. Again, I think I'm just really into the 19th century. I don't know, and into history. And you're spending time in a place that just feels good to be in.
I remember I've only played it I think once or twice at this point, and I remember really appreciating the random draw, because there's times where you have these guest cards in your hand, and you can invite specific guests to join you, but also sometimes it's just a matter of like someone randomly showing up at your estate, and you're like, okay, well, what do I do with this person?
And it could be a cad.
It could
be an American heiress, and they dock your reputation, but they give you a lot of money,
right?
Which is funny. There are ways in the expansion, upstairs, downstairs, to mitigate the random draw. The head housemaid can screen guests, so you can look at more cards. Yeah. So if you have a more robust estate with more helpers, then you can do more of that work to make your guest list who you want it to be and to really make your estate shine. So
nice.
Yeah, it's a fun theme. Dan Halligan, the designer, is so active on BGG and so wonderful to interact with. Personally, I've gotten emails from him, and I love the whole story of this game. It's fantastic solo. My husband actually loves to play it with me. We probably played it 4 times over Christmas, and he even asked to play it, which is rare. So just an excellent, excellent game.
That's wonderful. And I'll echo that about Dan. I've learned a lot about customer service from watching how Dan interacts with customers. So that is Obsession at number 4. Susannah does work for Stonemaier Games, but I did not ask her to take Stonemaier Games off the list because it's okay for Susannah to, I think one of the reasons you said, what do you say about that? Like I don't know. I don't want to put your words in your mouth, but why did you decide to put some Stonemaier Games on this list?
Oh, they're instrumental to my gaming story, and I love them. There would be this list would not exist without Stonemaier Games. Absolutely.
So the first of those games is Wingspan at number 3.
Right.
What do you love about Wingspan?
Wingspan was my first modern hobby game, and when I opened it that day, it was my 40th birthday, Halloween of 2020. We'd taken the kids out to go trick-or-treating to the 2 places that we could on the first year of COVID. And I got home and I said, okay, Joe, I want to open this game, which had already been unwrapped. And it was like, who makes this with these little eggs and this dice tower and these amazing cards? Like, I had never seen anything like it, to be quite honest. And it became my favorite activity for the first month for November.
Yeah.
And I played it solo constantly. It just drew me into the hobby. And so again, like, I wouldn't have played Floriferous if I hadn't played Wingspan. And so I feel like I owe this huge debt of gratitude to Elizabeth Hargrave, who saw that there was a missing link in the gaming world. There were people like me and like her and like tons of people who have a deep interest in nature and didn't know that this space existed and didn't care about, at that time, I have a lot of more bigger interest now in lots of different themes, but would not have come in for a space-themed game or a Western-themed game or whatever. It just didn't draw me in, but birds drew me in. I had become a birder. I built a bubbler in my yard with my husband's help. Like lots of people, we were stuck home and looking for things to do, and then I heard about this game. It had won a big prize. I didn't know what the prize was. I didn't know anything about Stonemaier. I just knew I wanted this object, and it ended up providing me with so much joy, and it opened the world to gaming for me. To keep kind of rambling, I thought, okay, well, there are probably other games that like match my hobbies. So after that, I got Calico because I love quilting and I love cats, and then I got New Bedford because I love Moby Dick. So I thought, like, oh, okay, they're games for my things. We're going to make everything line up. And then I realized, oh, they're just games for game's sake. And that that was a trajectory that Wingspan started me on.
I love every bit of that story. I always love hearing how people get into games for the first time. But I really hear it in depth. Usually I hear, okay, this was my first game, and then I found these other games. But I like that you described it through like the theme, the thematic connection, how you branched out from there and kept on branching out.
Yeah.
And now I see your list, and it's so varied over a wide variety of themes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, including from killing orcs to starting a zoo.
I know.
Yeah.
To my next game.
To your next game, yeah. One that I love. I don't own this game, but I do love A Feast for Odin at number 2. What do you love about Feast for Odin?
Yeah, this was like my 4th purchase.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was crazy. Wow. I was like, Wingspan, Calico,
New Bedford.
Oh, and then Small World. Uh-huh. Because, I don't know, that was like my next... There's just games out there. And then A Feast for Odin. So I was super out of my depth, right? This is a heavy game. This is not your just... casual afternoon game. This is a 3-hour do anything worker placement sandbox where you're pretending to be Vikings and you're exploring islands and you're hunting whales. There's the whale theme again. You're raiding and pillaging. You're polyomino puzzling on your board with all these special tiles that you get. And it's super intuitive once you learn it, but it is not intuitive when you open that box. And there's 2.5 inches of punch board and all these trays that you have to fill up with chits, and you're like, okay, this is more than I bargained for. But everyone had said they loved it so much, and I was watching a lot of content at that point and thought, well, this seems like the next thing for me. I don't know. I was committed to it, and I ended up watching a video by a guy named Ryan from Knights Around a Table who, like, it was such a breath of fresh air because he did such an amazing job of making it approachable. And then I sat down and I played my first solo game and I thought, oh, I get it. It's sort of a grid. There's, increasing action strengths. It's like a spreadsheet with really fun choices. I know some people think spreadsheets are fun on their own. Yeah. I'm not one of those people. So it's probably my most played solo game. So I've probably played it maybe 15 times solo. I have bought all the expansions. I have the Christmas tiles. Like, I love everything about this game. I think Uwe's approach to gaming just works with my brain. Maybe it's that he started as a farmer. A farming themed games. I don't know, but for a dry Euro, to me it's immersive. To me, it's an experience that I love having every time.
And I find it to be one of his most generous games, in that the game is constantly giving you stuff. Like, here's all this stuff, here's all these tiles, do what you want with them. You can upgrade them, use them as food. But a lot of his games are so tight with that feeding. Yep. And this one was kind of a breath of fresh air to have this wealth of things that you can use in different ways. Yep.
Have some peas, have some beans, have some salt pork. Like, it's just, he's not a vegetarian, is he? No, not. No, but it's fun and it's huge and it's a great experience.
That's A Feast for Odin at number 2. And now I am very honored that I have a design on this list. Tapestry. You chose Tapestry as your number 1 game. This is so, I feel awkward asking this, but what do you love about Tapestry?
Oh, it's my favorite game. What do I not love about Tapestry? It is, my daughter says it's so positive. And I just am with her on that. To me, it is a game where everything you do, you get something. And other people might get something too. Okay, there are a couple cards, like we all know, there are a couple cards that are giving certain people more things than others at times, and that's tricky, but it's not, to me, it's not painful. It's like, this is the milieu of the game, and in this civilization, some people are achieving higher at that point than you are, and that's okay. And I don't ever feel any, like, there are some games that I have to remind myself there's no crying in board games. Like, I have to say that to myself because I'm upset at what happens. And I have never ever felt that in Tapestry. I've always felt like, okay, I have to pivot, I have to deal with this, and I love the tech cards. I love upgrading them. I love the polyomino puzzle of the landmark buildings. They're stunning, and just holding them is is one of the great joys. It's like a toy factor that I didn't know I needed. It was the first game I played where I said, oh, I want to play this again right now. And I play it constantly on BGA now. If I don't have a game of Tapestry going, I'm sad. So, yeah, it's my favorite. I have all the expansions. I play it with my daughter. I play it solo. The Automa is unbelievable. Morton and the Automa Factory just made a really human feeling opponent to play against. Yeah. So I think I wrote you a fan letter after I played Tapestry, and said, like, I love this game and I'm gonna try Scythe and I don't know what I'm doing, but this is your games are amazing. So I absolutely love it.
That means a lot to me to hear. Like I put a lot of love into this game, and it's the one game that people talk a lot about the balance between the civilizations, and I get it. Like it's tough to have a perfectly balanced asymmetric game, and I never want to design something that would take someone's joy away from a game. Like and that can, for some people, that is balance. If they if they feel like they played this civ and this other player had such a huge advantage because they played a better civ and that took away from their joy, that breaks my heart. But I hope that doesn't impact everyone's enjoyment of the game.
I'm sure it doesn't. I think there is so much love for this game, and the fact that it's on BGA means so many more people are playing it, and that data that you're collecting and working with, and I don't remember his name, who's managing the data.
Jeremy.
Yeah, brilliant guy. His posts on BGG are so cool. It's gotten so much more attention, and I think people are seeing it it is a joyful, exciting game where you achieve a lot in a pretty short amount of time. Physically, it's one of my favorite games on the table, so playing it on BGA is not my preferred. It's just that it's the only way I can get regular games of it. But yeah, those landmark miniatures, and even just the income buildings are gorgeous. So it's just a delight.
Well, I'm so glad it's brought you joy.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're working on a third expansion, or the final third expansion, and we have a neoprene map that I'll actually show you after we get off the video. I don't think you've seen that in person yet. Awesome. But yeah. Susannah, thank you so much for joining us for this list. I love hearing your thoughts about games. Is there anything that you thought of while you were making this list or while you were talking here today that you want to add?
Oh, good question. Just that I think gaming has really changed my life for the better, and it wasn't something that I ever anticipated, and I'm just really grateful to you. I'm grateful to Elizabeth. I'm grateful to my friends who have taught me new games. I'm grateful to the people at Geekway who I didn't know who played games with me. It's just, I've found it to be such a welcoming hobby and such an open-hearted place. And I felt, just a lot happier than I have in a long time in this space. So, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. We're recording this right before Gen Con. I won't go live until after that, but hopefully you get the chance to meet Susannah at Gen Con, or that in the future, the past, whatever it is with this video. I'm looking forward to it. Great. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Susannah.